South Africa's been in the news a lot over the last few weeks here in the United States of America, and I think most Americans, ever since the mid-1990s, after the fall of apartheid, kind of tuned it out, weren't really paying attention. But now it's back in the headlines, back on the front page of the newspapers, because Donald Trump has signed some orders and made some statements that are really grabbing attention, not just here in the United States, but in South Africa and around the world. He's been talking about expropriation without compensation. The government has a new policy where they're going to be taking land from people without paying them money, or at least they have the authority to do that now. There are questions about the constitutionality. And also, he has stopped American federal funding. He's talking about ending a special trade relationship we have with South Africa. And he's even now talking about allowing Afrikaners, mostly descendants of Dutch and Europeans who settled down there in the mid-1600s onwards, to come to the United States and resettle as refugees. Joining us to discuss all this here on Conversations That Matter is Neil de Beer. He's an incredibly interesting individual. He's the founder and president of the United Independent Movement. This is a political party in South Africa that aims to represent what it describes as the moderate segment of the political spectrum. He was a national security advisor to Nelson Mandela, who of course was instrumental in bringing down the apartheid system and bringing in the new system, but he has since become quite critical of the African National Congress and what he describes as the extreme political positions on both sides. Neil, welcome to the program. Thank you very much for joining us. I can't think of a better time to have you on to discuss these issues. What do we make of what is happening with Donald Trump vis-a-vis South Africa?
Alex, in our time, very good afternoon, and a pleasure and privilege to be here. One needs to look at the scenario currently from two sides. One, you've got to start becoming unemotional about these matters because reality needs to sink in. And secondly, one needs to look at history. And I will address my overview on that from the current perspective that we have. And it might not be what everybody wants to hear. I'm known in this country as very straightforward and blunt and call it like it is. And sometimes I have been referred to as the opinionated Donald Trump of South Africa, which I will take right now as a compliment, because if it is about cutting to the chase and giving it like it is, I'll take that accolade. Alex, number one, there are three names that are very relevant. Why South Africa, in my opinion, is in your news. And then 5 reasons why we are currently sucking at it to get you to the table, and the things that are really making Donald Trump and the people governing that country like a red flag to a bull. And it is simple, it is clear, it is unabated and unemotional. So number one, there's the name Donald Trump. Undoubtedly, there's the name Elon Musk. And then you heard a third one called Gary Player. What do they all have in common? They play golf and regularly do so. What else do they have in common is Elon Musk. He's a South African, born and bred. And so is Gary Player, a person who was named Sportsman of the Century of South Africa. Now, let's not therefore kid ourselves. If you, as Donald Trump, have Elon on your left ear all the time, which he has, and Gary Player for 18 holes and a 19th little bit of a beer, of course South Africa will be on the table. And it is therefore what I think sparked a lot of debates, because make no mistake, Elon Musk knows, Gary Player knows, and Ernie Els knows what's happening in this country. They are not uninformed. And therefore, I think when people say Donald Trump is ill-informed, they're making a very big mistake. I want to put that on the table. They know exactly what's going on. Secondly, Alex, I am a person that left the ANC, being a person in the military side and intelligence for many years. And here's the fact. There's nothing that changed of the ANC, Alex. The brand is there, the constitution is there, and the Freedom Charter has not changed. What has changed is the people in that organization. And in my opinion, they have slaughtered the ideology of the Mandela reconciliation period. They have entered into something which I'm telling you, they are so idiotic, and there's only one thing worse than an idiot, and that is a motivated idiot. And that is currently what we are sitting with. So, that's my stance on why South Africa is on your radar continuously.
Wow. Fascinating. And yeah, a lot of people have been talking about Elon Musk. There's been a debate about whether he should be called an African American or just an American or things like this. And of course, as a South African, he is definitely well informed. Neil, I want to ask you about your vision for South Africa, because I know the ANC right now is pursuing expropriation without compensation. They're pursuing a variety of different policies that have become kind of a lightning rod of criticism for folks in Washington, D.C., and also for foreign investors. You know, people want to be able to invest money and have confidence that their private property rights are going to be respected. What do you think about the direction the ANC is taking South Africa, and what do you think should be done differently?
It's a disaster. You know, it's become a circus. But Alex, even a circus clown brings money into a circus tent. So that's what we've got at this moment, a bloody circus. So, you are my neighbor, Alex. You and I share a property next to each other, and you decide to build a parting wall between us, and it is encroaching on my property. Now, you and I have to share a Budweiser and bloody talk about it. But every 2 minutes, I'm shouting over the wall, what an idiot you are, and how stupid you are. And then Monday morning, Alex, can we talk about the wall? This is exactly where we bloody are. We are trying to say to the biggest trading partner that we have, a country that has never defaulted on supporting the Republic of South Africa. We've had many times since end of beginning of apartheid, the support of the United States. In actual fact, history will say that they were one of our biggest changing agents in the country. Now, what are we doing? Well, we need you. We need you for economic support, we need you for financial support, and we need you for global support. This is a fact. So, it doesn't help that the following 5 things, Alex, are being done blatantly by the South African ANC side of the GNU. So here are the 5, and I am open for debate. Number 1, we are talking to Iran. Really? We even spoke to them last week when the ANC met them. So number 1, you are not a favorite of Iran. In actual fact, you are on absolute polarized sides. So that's the first condition. The ANC must stop this if they want to come to the table, Alex. Number 2, we recognize Hezbollah and Hamas as official structures of a state. America says they're terrorists. So there's your second problem you've got. Number 3, we are a founding member of BRICS, and therefore sit on the other side of the Eastern governance of equity and currency. You are not. Number 4, we took Israel to court, to the ICJ. And fifthly, our president goes on a stage and mocks Donald Trump. There's 5. I don't know how many strikes you get in baseball, Alex, but I think we've run out of them at the moment.
Yes, it's very true. Yeah, and that did. I know people in Washington, D.C. were very, very concerned about some of those very things that you mentioned. Taking Israel to the International Court on charges of genocide is, of course, a very serious matter. Israel is pretty popular with the political class in Washington, D.C., and I know that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Neil, where do you think South Africa needs to be going from here? I mean, I understand that the influence of the CCP, Beijing, is growing very rapidly in South Africa. I understand that hostility against the United States is also escalating, partly led by statements by Ramaphosa and other senior officials in the government. What do you think is the proper direction for South Africa to go in? And what would your political party do if it entered into a position of power where it could actually influence these things and make decisions?
Alex, we've got to stop playing politics and think about the economy. You know, politicians say a lot, but sometimes they do very little. Winston Churchill said one day, we need to speak less about war, and we need to start doing jaw. We cannot afford to do war. We cannot do an economic war. So we've got to temper this down. If I was in leadership, the first thing I would do is I would start negotiating from the point of benefit on both sides. And we cannot have both. This is not possible. Again, in the words of Churchill, an icon of mine, you cannot negotiate with a tiger, Alex, while your bloody head is stuck in its mouth. So currently, you as the US are the tiger and we're stuck in your mouth. So let us withdraw, pull our head out, calm the tiger down, and say, where do we meet halfway? So principle number one, go back to diplomacy. Number two, stop insulting the tiger, because you are currently begging to be in the ring with it, but you're kicking its nuts at the same time. It's going to bite you, Alex. It's going to rip you to pieces. So calm down, get to the table, and let's put the economic advantages on the table instead of the political, historic advantages, which we are clinging on. Number three, we need ALGOA. We need that economic investment. We have currently, with one strike of a Trump pen, lost 8 billion rand of support, as you know, in the health sector to help our people with HIV/AIDS. I am worried that if we don't sort this out, that America will start with economic sanctions against this country, and then we will be devastated. So those are the three things. Quieten down, find diplomacy, and find an economic middle way that will help our country.
It's interesting to hear you say that, Neil. I just spoke yesterday with Phumlani Madjozi, and he said the same thing, that he expects that if this isn't resolved, sanctions are probably going to be coming, which I know that hasn't been discussed publicly in D.C. very loudly, but it's I think, on the table, at least, if this continues to escalate. Neil, we're down to just a couple minutes left. I want to ask you, how can folks learn more about the United Independent Movement? How can people connect with you, both in South Africa and in the United States? I know you've played a very significant role in South Africa's history, South Africa's development, and I expect you're going to continue playing a very significant role in South Africa's future. How do people connect with what you're doing on social media, on the internet? What's the website?
So the website is www.uimsa.org, and they are very welcome because I love interaction, I love advice and debate. They can send me directly an email to President, President, President @uimsa.org, and I answer and get to everyone. But I want to tell you, Alex, I'm a South African. In actual fact, I'm an Afrikaner. Ek is gebore in Suid-Afrika. I am a thoroughbred South African. I am not an African or an African American or an African European. I am a South African. And to think that we are being told, sorry, Alex, that we can become refugees is, sorry, not negotiable by me. I will put the bloody lights off when I leave. So we need to solve our own problems. We need to daddy up, stop running to America with requests, but go to America. And here's the final cliche, Alex. Instead of asking for aid, we just need to move one hand and do trade. So from aid to trade, but we're dealing with an economic power, so we need to make certain commitments that we will ensure that you are indeed satisfied with us.
Well, dankie, Neil. It's a great pleasure speaking with you. I used to live in South Africa, in Cape Town. I love South Africa. It's a wonderful place, and I'm glad that it's something that people are paying attention to now. It's very important, and I thank you for joining us today. Thank you for what you're doing to try to bring some sanity back to the process. We appreciate it, Neil. I hope people will check you out online, and I hope we can talk with you further down the line.
I like the donkey.
Hey, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All righty, folks, that's all we have time for today, but please go check out their website. Meet us over at thenewamerican.com. Thank you all for watching. Share this out with anybody you know interested in South Africa. Appreciate it. Until next time, God bless you all.
Hi, I'm Alan Keyes. I'm the host of IMTV's daily talk show about news and events in America. And I want to say a good word for the New American magazine. Not only because Alex Newman has joined us as somebody who is periodically hosting a show, but because New American Magazine represents a alternative media that is willing to tell people the truth. With so much fake news spreading about, and the fact that right now this country's in an existential crisis, we remember who we are and where we come from and what our principles are, or we die. Reading New American Magazine can keep you up to the minute on the issues that are challenging us as a people and on which that survival hangs. You can check it out and subscribe at www.thenewamerican.com.